to WellSprings online service. My name is Loy Miller, and I am honored and blessed to be your worship leader this morning. Every Sunday when we gather, we light a chalice as a symbol of our spiritual heritage as Unitarian Universalists. But it's more than just a symbol of the past. It's also a symbol of the present, of that divine spark that is present in each and every one of us. After we light our chalice, we'll say the words together on the screen. And together we say, we light our chalice to celebrate the path lit before us, the warmth of kindness that shines from within us, and the radiance of wisdom that is shared between us and never goes out. Good morning and happy Easter. Here at WellSprings, our mission is to be a community charged full with the charge of the soul. When I was thinking about what I would talk about, what charges me full this week, it occurred to me that I was the worship leader last Easter, and I sang to you. You might remember I sang, Jesus Christ is risen today. And I said that's usually what some of us anyway, are used to hearing on Easter. And then it occurred to me that was not last Easter. That was 2 years ago. 2 years ago I did that. Because last Easter we were still virtual. That's crazy to me that was 2 years ago. Now as I get older, the years do seem to go faster, but this year is really a blur, this quarantine year. So I was thinking about what did I want to remember and what did I want to keep about this blurry quarantine year. And one of the things is WellSprings doing it virtually. Imagine if we had spent all this time with no WellSprings. Imagine if we had just stopped. That would have been a huge loss. But we didn't. We kept going, we persevered. People thought of really wonderful, important, new ways to do things. And I'm very grateful for all the hard work that I know goes into it. And soon, we'll be all together in Bell Hall. We won't be virtual. And I promise you that will totally charge me full. Even though we're gathering virtually, thank goodness, there are still lots of ways to get connected and stay in touch with us throughout the week. You can see them listed beside me on the screen. There's our website and social media. If you're new to WellSprings, please fill out the video connection card. It can be found in the link below. And now, let's go to Jessica and see what we'd like to highlight this week.
Hi WellSprings, my name's Jessica Heichel and I have 2 announcements for you this week. The first is that coming up this Sunday, April 11th, is the very first Belonging Sunday. This is a bit of a new take on how we're going to welcome new WellSpringers to our congregation. Even in a pandemic year, some folks have found us and have decided to make WellSprings their spiritual home, and we would like to give them a very warm welcome. So this will happen with a service on YouTube as usual. Reverend Lee will make a few remarks welcoming our newest WellSpringers to the congregation. But the main event will really be the 11 o'clock coffee hour, where we are inviting all WellSpringers to come say hello to our newest WellSpringers. We will do some breakout rooms to help facilitate connections. I will put a little more information about Belonging Sunday into the chat, and you can check that out when you have a moment. Second announcement is that the WellSprings Gardens are about to open for business, so we are looking for volunteers, families who would like to do this together, perhaps teens who have a community service requirement. We'd love to have you help out. So if you're interested in gardening, there are 2 folks you can contact, Paula Bauer and Carol Breslin, and I will put both of their email addresses into the chat as well. Happy Easter. Thanks so much, everyone, and I'll see you next week.
Here at WellSprings, the foundation of everything we do is found in the power of connection, in making space in our hearts and our lives for each other. And now is the part of the service where we honor that connection by greeting each other. Now, we may not be able to hug or shake hands quite yet, but there are still lots of ways to greet one another during and after the service. If you're on live on Sunday at 10, you can type a greeting into the chat window, or maybe drop into the Facebook Oasis group. And we hope that you'll join us on Sunday at 11 on Zoom after the service for our online coffee hour. Let's find a way now to greet each other during our time of connection. I invite you now into our time of generosity, which is an opportunity for us to reflect upon and express the gratitude we feel for the role WellSprings plays in our lives and in the wider world. Now more than ever, if you feel the value of this community, we hope you'll share a gift with us. If you have your smartphone handy, you can text WSPRINGS to 73256. You'll get a link that will help you complete your gift online, and there's also a link in the video description below. We can't thank you enough for your support. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Just as we've taken the time to experience connection among us and generosity beyond us, let's take a minute and enter into the deep and soulful energy that's inside us. Allow yourself to sit comfortably, and maybe for the first time today, notice that you're breathing. We do what is most elemental in our lives. Without rush or hurry, we inhale and exhale. We breathe in and we breathe out. There's nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be, and nothing else to do except to be here together now. We follow these words from Thich Nhat Hanh into our time of mindful silence. If we want to enter heaven on earth, we need only one conscious step and one conscious breath. Let us experience peace and cultivate presence now in our quiet time together. Wherever it is that you are, whatever it is that you are doing, however it is that you are feeling, let's remember that peace and presence are as close to us as is our own breath. May this be so for you this moment, may it be so for you this day, and may it be so for you in the days to come. May it be so for all of us. Occasionally, we like to invite members of our congregation to share a story now and then as an example of how they're living out our mission. Today we have a story from the Heartworks team about a local teacher building connections in our community and an invitation from that team to join them in their work. Take it away, Sandy.
Good morning, I'm Sandy Tucker, and I'm here to talk to you about an upcoming project that we'll be doing for Heartworks. The project will begin April 6th, Easter Tuesday. We'll be working with Kate Camarda, who is an ESL teacher in Phoenixville. ESL stands for English as a Second Language. Kate is a graduate of Millersville University. Her major was International Studies, her minor was Business and Spanish. She went on to get her master's at Eastern College and got her elementary education certification as well as her ESL certification. She's been an ESL teacher since 2005. She began her teaching career in Coatesville and transferred over to Phoenixville shortly after. Kate also created and runs an adult ESL program. So she works with the families of the children that she works with, that she teaches. She's been doing that for 12 years, and she's been doing that on her own time with no compensation. So Kate, one more thing that Kate does. Kate is a mom of 4 daughters, and she's married and lives locally. And now we'll turn this over to Kate. Kate?
Hi, thank you. My nonprofit is called Kate's Casa. You can find a lot of information at www.katescasa.org. Like Sandy said, I started teaching in the Coatesville district in 2005. Since starting in 2005, working with my students and their families, both inside and outside of school, has really become a passion of mine. I started a nonprofit last year for many different reasons, but one of the main reasons that really got me moving was seeing how hard the pandemic hit this particular group of people. I teach in Phoenixville currently, and most of our immigrants are from Guatemala, and just hearing about their life story and how hard life is in Guatemala and some reasons why they come here, and then seeing how difficult their life is when they're here too. I just knew that I could always do more and wanted to get more people involved, because I know a lot of people want to help as well. Just some quick statistics that I heard last year at my church from my pastor. So that really stuck with me. If you make over $15,000, you're in the top 7.6 richest people in the world. If you make over $30,000 a year, you're in the top 1% richest people in the world. And if you make over $80,000, you're in the top 10% richest people in the world. And here in Chester County, the average median income is $84,000. So I just think back to that all the time and think about how lucky we are to live in Chester County and to have even been born in America, where we have a choice and have a chance to make an opportunity in life. Like I said, most of the students in Phoenixville that are English language learners come from Guatemala, and just doing some research about Guatemala is really shocking as well. In Guatemala, about 60% of the people live below poverty, and then 23% live in extreme poverty. Their average annual income is about $2,740, and in the lower class, it's just a little over $1,600 a year. The average number of years of schooling is only about 4 years, and only about 35% of teenagers attend middle school, and even less attend high school. 98% of all crimes in Guatemala go unprosecuted. In 2016, an average of 101 people were murdered each week of that entire year. And Guatemala is just a little bit about the size of Tennessee. So it's a very small country with tons of problems. It never recovered from the civil war that it had from 1960 to 1996. And it's just really filled with political corruption and gangs. And that prompts many, many innocent families to make the dangerous journey through Mexico to get to the United States. And just hearing their whole stories is just something that's really touched me. And knowing that we can help people very simply by passing down toys or clothing or furniture from our own families, just to get it into the hands of these families is just something that I really want to do. So the 2 goals for the nonprofit are to sponsor at least 100 immigrant children seasonally. And on my website, I have a link for that, where we would get different items for each child. I'll match you up with a child to bring them items 4 times a year each season, and you can add to it as you please. The second goal is to secure funding for a shelter. hopefully by the end of this year, to focus on helping newly arrived immigrant families, unaccompanied minors, and single immigrant women with children. I would love to have programs run from the shelter like adult ESL and basic health classes, basic financial classes, and more to come, and just have a place where people can come and get items that people have donated. So thank you for listening. Kate's Casa is a new nonprofit, and we're looking forward to helping as many immigrant families as we can in the Phoenixville and surrounding areas. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about how we're going to support Kate in her ESL initiatives. On Tuesday, April 6th, we're going to post a sign-up genie on both Realm and WellSprings Oasis. On it will be children's names listed with the items that they need, clothing and other items. We're asking that you sign up, put the items that you purchase in a gift bag, label it, and drop them at one of 4 different drop-off points. All names and addresses for the drop-off points will be listed, as well as phone numbers. Anything you need, if you don't understand, give me a call, contact me. Also, if you want to participate but you aren't able to buy anything, we have a link on the genie for you to make a monetary donation. We want to take this time to thank you for all your support in the past and look forward to working with you on this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Heartworks. So now is the time in our service where normally the children get to go to Youth Spirit. But today, the Youth Spirit is gathering virtually on Zoom at 9 a.m. on Sundays. So let's see if we have any shout-outs in this week's Youth Spirit Yell.
Hey everybody, this is Teresa, Ken, and of course, the bunny of the hour, Sheldon. Now, Sheldon used to come to WellSprings every Easter Sunday to say hi to everybody in person. In Rabbitland, they call that in bunny. But he definitely wanted to get on video today to wish everybody a very happy Easter.
Thank
you, WellSprings. I love it.
What do you love?
I don't wait to see what's in the photo, and I love the candies and seeds and stickers and the picture of Zorb. I actually already watched Toy Stories 2, so I would be so it's probably not surprising if I know about him in the movie, but cool.
And do you want to say happy
Easter to you! Happy Easter to you! Happy Easter, dear WellSprings! Happy Easter to you!
Yay!
Can I watch it?
Winter is the oldest season, but quietly beneath the snow, seeds are stretching out and reaching, faithful as the morning glow. Carry nothing but what you must, leaning towards the light. Let it go, shake off the dust, leaning towards the light. Today is now, tomorrow beckons, leaning towards the light. Keep practicing the resurrection, leaning towards the light. The shadows of this world will say, no hope, why try anyway? Every kindness, large or slight, shifts the balance towards the light. Waters wide and open wider, leaning towards the light. Don't just walk when you can fly, leaning towards the light. When justice seems in short supply, leaning towards the light. Let beauty be your truest guide, leaning towards the light. The shadows of this world leading towards the light. Let me at least to be kind, leading towards the light. Leading towards the light. Leading towards the light. Leading towards the light. Leading towards the light.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter, and boy, I've got to tell you, the second pandemic Easter is a tough one to preach. Let's just say the Easter mood does not come easily to me this year. It's hard won, which is a shame because I desperately want it to come easily to me. More than ever, I think I need a resurrection this year. And maybe you feel the same way. I have noticed within myself more and more these past few weeks and months a really deep well of longing. A longing for the ones that I miss. A longing for clarity and certainty that I used to be able to take for granted. For the ability to plan something with confidence for the future. For a world without so much violence. For a world without so much destruction and selfishness and pain and hate, where we actually treat each other as the beloved kin that we are. Yeah, I have a pretty deep well of longing for all of those things, and I am more in touch with that well than I maybe have ever been. It had me, as I prepared to preach an Easter message, deciding it was time to go back straight to the source this week. I spent some time reading through the stories in the 4 Gospels of the Christian New Testament, the stories of Easter. And what caught my attention in all of those different versions of that story was the one moment early on Easter morning, before the news, before the resurrection was known. The women in Jesus's life get up early on Easter morning to go to the tomb. And put yourself in their shoes for a moment. Picture what that must have been like that morning. The previous Friday, their dearest friend had been murdered. 2 days before, their dearest friend had been killed by the authorities in public, brutally. They were deep in grief. Picture it, right? You are sitting there angry, bereft, and these women, you have spent all day Saturday with nothing to do but sit in that rage and that sadness while everything was closed for the Sabbath. You are still in shock. This was your beloved friend. A friend who taught you so much, who was a leader in your community. You had such hopes for the future that you were building. You devoted yourself to this work that all of you were going to do together, this healing, miraculous stuff. And then out of nowhere one day, he was picked up by the authorities and killed, brutally murdered for all to see. The grief that you would be feeling in that moment, I'm sure, would be so deep. So then you'd plan to do the one thing you can do finally after Saturday is over. You set your alarm. You plan to wake up as early as possible on Sunday morning because at least you can do something then. what needs to be done in this horrible circumstance, a memorial, a memory, a preparation in one final act of love of your friend's body for burial. In the gospel stories, the women arrive as early as they can at the tomb at sunrise. And I picture them just putting one foot in front of the other. I picture them with red, puffy eyes, dehydrated from all the crying, broke down. I've heard from so many of you that that is how it feels right now sometimes, that you're just putting one foot in front of the other. After we have lived a year of pandemic, after we have lived more than 1 year of horrific gun violence, of racist hate crimes, of murders at the hands of the authorities in our own day, some of us are just putting one foot in front of the other and trying to do what we can do. We might be able to relate more than we think. And so these women arrive at the tomb, and suddenly an angel appears to them and turns everything upside down again, saying, "Why do you seek the living among the dead?" Why? Why do you seek the living among the dead? What must it have been like for that to sink in? Right? What are you saying? What are you saying? Our friend is dead. Why do you seek the living among the dead? And the angels share the news that Jesus has risen. Gosh, it must have felt dangerous to hope in that moment, when so many other things had been taken away. The women in the gospel stories, it says, struggled with it. Each gospel here actually has a very different version of what happens next, which is so interesting. Some gospel stories said that the women were terrified, they were afraid, and they told no one. Other gospel stories said that they told everyone immediately, but no one believed them. How afraid everyone must have been to get their hopes up. But it was true. None of Jesus's friends, none of the people he loved in that moment had any reason to expect anything that morning except for more death and more of the same. They had no concept that there could be another way out, another way to win this fight against the evil powers in their world. No concept that there could be another way to live and to find life after so much pain and struggle and hardship. But here it was. It was right in front of them. They all had to open their hearts and their minds to it, because it is made clear to us as readers in the gospel stories that their resurrected friend did not look the way they expected him to. When two of his followers, Jesus's followers, meet him resurrected on the road to Emmaus, when Jesus is seen standing on the shore by the fishermen, when Mary herself greets him in the garden outside the tomb, none of them recognize him. None of them recognize him at first. Apparently, their newly resurrected friend, he is still love and joy and God incarnate just as much as he had always been, but he shows up unfamiliarly in a new form. A new form that's not even described. Maybe that's part of the challenge for all of us of seeking out resurrection. Because we think it will be recognizable. We think it will be a recreation of what had been, a return to the way that things were before the loss, before the death. But if we are to believe the story that we tell this weekend every year, resurrection is not as simple as that. Resurrection is not a time machine. We do not see Jesus back in the manger, reliving all of the greatest hits of his ministry, right? Instead, we are told that we cannot look for the living among the dead. We cannot find new life in what is past, only in what is to come. Only, in fact, in an unfamiliar form, which might be scary and confusing at first, but which we will find is alive and on fire with love and life and God incarnated. I got my first dose of the coronavirus vaccine 2 weeks ago, and I know many of you also have. If you have not yet heard the good news, in the state of Pennsylvania, every single person age 16 and older will now be eligible to receive the vaccine this month on April 19th. After some amusing back and forth between the nurse and I at the Philly Convention Center when I got my vaccine, I asked her to give me the shot in my right arm, in my tattoo, actually. Some of you know that I have a lot of tattoos. This was actually the second one I got, and it is my largest tattoo. It covers my entire right bicep. People often don't know what to make of this tattoo, especially once they find out what I do for a living. You can see here, it is a tattoo of an old traditional church building, and it's on fire. It's burning. I actually got this tattoo early in my ministry as a sign and a reminder to myself not to make the forms of religion into an idol, to be open to the unexpected and the unfamiliar ways that the Spirit shows up. At the base of this burning building, you will see in my tattoo is also a burst of sunflowers. You might know that in nature, scientists call sunflowers phytoremediators, which is a very fancy way of saying they clean the soil. They actually have the ability to purify the ground, lifting toxic materials like lead and heavy metals up from the ground. After the Chernobyl and Fukushima nuclear disasters, officials planted vast fields of sunflowers to absorb the radiation and prepare the damaged soil for new life. It's one of the most effective and gentle ways to heal the ground. And who would have ever thought that that's how resurrection of that soil might come about after something as terrifying and awful as a nuclear disaster, that the cure would be found in a simple sunflower. In an opinion piece for the New York Times on Friday, a New Testament professor named Esau Macaulay wrote an article comparing the Easter story to the story we have lived this year, and reminding us to stay open to resurrection in unexpected forms. And not just that, but to remind us that we are all in need of resurrection. He said, as we leave these tombs of quarantine, thank God, right? As we leave these tombs of quarantine, a return to normal would be a disaster. Unless, he says, we recognize we are going back to a world that is in need of healing, a world that is in need of resurrection. I find my resurrection mood, my Easter mood, it shows up when I start in that place. When I wonder with an open heart what our resurrections might look like. Whether they are personal in your life or whether you also are thinking about our collective need for healing and resurrection. What unfamiliar forms might that take? I want to close with a story from a colleague and a friend of mine, the Reverend Molly Hausch-Gordon, who told us all about a memorial that she went to officiate last year. A small graveside service in a neighboring town from where she lives in Missouri, over the border in Kansas. The memorial service was for a beloved elder in her congregation, a woman named Sue. And during the service, Molly said, the family had decided that they wanted to do a ritual, that after each person shared a memory of Sue, they would pick up a sunflower from a big bucket, because Kansas, Molly said, and add it to the gravesite. Well, as the family assembled that morning, amidst the tears and the sadness of such a somber occasion, Molly noticed that Sue's 2-year-old great-granddaughter was there. And as soon as she saw the bucket of sunflowers, she squealed with joy. When the remembrances began later in the service, Molly said, my small, self-appointed co-officiant began too. Sue's eldest son was the first to speak. And when he had finished sharing memories of his mother, he laid a sunflower by her gravesite. And the 2-year-old saw her chance. She crept up slowly to the flower and snatched it and took off through the gathered family of mourners. She went first to her grandparents, and with the concentrated carelessness of a toddler, Molly says, she tore petals off of that sunflower in chubby little handfuls and presented them to Grandma and Grandpa. Molly says, we were all unsure whether to be horrified or charmed. But when a toddler gives you something, you take it. So there they sat, Sue's son and his wife, clutching handfuls of sunflower petals. The service went on, and the toddler went on too. Every time someone would speak and leave a flower, she would fetch the fresh flower like it was her one job and leave the torn one behind. She traveled through the entire crowd, distributing sunflower petals into helpless, open hands. And by the end of the service, there was a very sad pile of petalless sunflower heads stacked upon one another next to the open gravesite, empty and bare. And there was also a crowd of faces, their eyes wet with tears, bemused and sad and joyful and shining. Every single one holding open palms of sunflower petals. Molly says loss is very real. And yet, we may also be startled to find ourselves sitting in its midst with handfuls of sunflower petals, with bright memories and love filling up our hands and spilling over the edge, to carry with us into the next day. My friends, this Easter, may resurrection show up for you in unexpected ways. And may we all remember not to shut down the presence of divine love, even if its form is unfamiliar to us. Maybe today you feel ready to plant some sunflowers, to purify the soil around you, but I hope you remember that if the planting is too much, feel free to just receive whatever big messy, torn up clumps of bright joy are dropped into your helpless, open hands. May we be grateful for them. And may we continue to remember that there is still so much life here to be lived among the living. Amen. And may you live in blessing. I invite you to join me this morning in the spirit of prayer. God of the uncertain times, presence that is with us when we don't know what is coming, when we are afraid, maybe, to hope for something good, because we know so much can go wrong, because we know so much can be lost. On this Easter morning, may we hear the angels when they ask us a question, when they ask us where we are putting our attention in this moment, when they encourage us to look in new places, to see an unfamiliar version as just as on fire with the holy as the thing that we miss, as the thing that we love. God, in this world where we trust that the most high power is love, help us remember that that means love cannot die and is with us in this moment as much as any other. For the prayers that I've spoken out loud and for the prayers that everyone gathered with us holds on their hearts, we say amen.
When I was a boy each week, Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we will learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but needing a magic trick isn't anything that's here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where the reasons run. When holy water was rare at best, I barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven sent a right hand me down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. We This morning outside I stood and saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
The light of our chalice may go out this morning, but the source that sparked it is always with us. And together we say, as we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, and to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always. Happy Easter, everyone, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of you at coffee hour with your Easter finest or just your Easter pajamas, whatever you feel moved to show up in this morning. Until next week, please be well. Take care.